everybody, it's Cassie Moore, Cassandra Moore, here, just talking about books again. You know, I love books and I love to talk about them. And it's really been a concerning for me to see some of the conversations that are happening surrounding books and really just this censorship about books that some people may feel like aren't appropriate for school. And some of those books center around sexuality. And we have some books in our library that talk about sexuality, not really promoting any way to feel or any way to act. It's just allowing students to have a safe place to think their thoughts and ask questions. And so I'm going to be highlighting a couple of these books. And there are so many more books that could be highlighted. I'm only really showcasing the ones that I have a couple of copies of that are available right now, because these books are really popular, not for everyone, but for the kids who need them. They talk to me, they talk to each other, and these books stay on. So this first book is The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James, and it's the story of a girl who has a heart transplant. And so this heart transplant gives her a new lease on life. She's been sick for a couple of years, and so she gets this new heart, and she's deciding to, just live her life because she was so afraid that she wouldn't be able to, that she thought that, she was facing this sickness and she didn't know what would happen. And so, she's living her life and, she's going back to school and she meets this girl, and somewhere along the story, she starts to feel like she's kind of having feelings for this girl and she doesn't quite know what to think about those feelings. And so this is her processing, this is her kind of talking and thinking about those feelings. And it is really a wonderful book about second chances and figuring out who you are, which is so important for students in middle school. A High Five for Glenn Burke, one of my favorite books, I have to say. I read this really quickly, and it's about a boy who realizes that he has feelings for other boys, and he's not quite sure what to do with that or how to think about that, and but he gets the confidence to do that, and he, to just be himself. A lot of these books have such a good current of accepting who you are, and being okay with who you are. And that you have to love that. You just have to be a champion of that. And this is a really good book. Flight of the Puffin by Anne Braden. It shows you, so you have these kids, and each chapter is a different kid, and they're all kind of facing different things, different, home things or community things. And then you have T. And T is a character who doesn't identify as male or female. But the thing about T, T, kind of introduced themselves by talking about their pronouns a little bit and explaining that, talking about the way they feel. And it's in such a way that students can understand it. I remember I did this book as a read aloud in 2019, 2008, no, just 2020, last year, sorry. I did this book as a read aloud, and we discussed the character of T and how they felt and how isolated they felt. And we really had some good discussions about that. You want to check out Flight of the Puffin. And by the way, if you have not read Benefits of Being an Octopus, also by this author, you need to check it out. It's really good. Hazel Bly and the Deep Blue Sea, a wonderful story. So in this book, the main character has two moms, and one of them dies, and so she's trying to work through her grief and work through her sadness, and she meet someone, and they become, really good friends, and they're just trying to figure out really just a lot about life. This is a really, really good story, and I like it so much because it shows the beautiful relationship of having two moms. I think that's been stigmatized in our society. Some people kind of have these stereotypes, and it's just such a beautiful relationship. and it talks about that lovely relationship and that caring, nurturing environment that she's brought up in, and how they're both dealing with grief. And so another good story. The kids really identify with this, just with the sadness and the questions and the moving and everything. But it also shows just that strong family connection. And so it's a really good story. A Home for Goddesses and Dogs. Now, I like this one a lot. I actually just read this a couple of days ago. And so in this story, again, you have a same-sex couple, and they are taking care of this girl who's for whatever her dad left, her mom died, and it's just showing that wonderful relationship. And in the story, there's this friend group, and one of the girls is just adamant about these boys that she likes, and another girl says, I'm not sure if I like girls or boys. I kind of think about them both, and just trying to figure it out. And the thing that I'm trying to emphasize is that it's just makes it okay to have questions. It just makes it okay to have questions, because whether anyone wants to believe it or not, these students have questions. And, whether they talk to me or talk to another adult, it's questionable, but they will read a book about someone who is also having questions. And I think it's just so important that we have these books in our library. We have to. We have to give these kids a place, a safe place where they can think their thoughts and have their concern, have these questions, and then just be okay with knowing that they're not the only one who has this, this question about who they are, or who has this attraction or whatever. I mean, it's just, we've got to provide a safe space for that. The last book is The Best at It by Malik Pincholi. I like this book for a lot of reasons. First reason is because it's diverse. This is an Indian family, and I haven't read a lot of books about that. I'm very big on trying to diversify my shelf, but also because it shows all these different thoughts around this boy who thinks that he likes boys, and there's even this part where one of the uncles makes a negative comment about him being feminine, and how the family at first doesn't say anything, like they just don't want to say anything, but by the end of the story they've kind of put that to rest. And the dad in this story just tells his son, I love you the way you are, you're fine, you're my son. I cried. I mean, this is good middle school literature. And so, and these are just a couple of books. Trust me, there are so many books, but this is a really good one as well. I think it's so important, again, that kids feel like they can find themselves in a book. And so it's important that kids are able to find someone who's questioning, find someone who's transgender, find someone who's gay, just find someone who just has all of these different things going on, to just find themselves in a book. It's so important, and it's something that I fight for. I will fight for. I will fight to have books in my library that kids can identify with, and come back to me and say, oh my goodness, this was me. Some other books that I don't have right now because they're checked out: Lillian Duncan, wonderful story. Obi is Man Enough is a new book about a trans male that is so good. Obi is Man Enough. It is so good. It actually teaches you a lot about dead pronouns and dead names, and why it's important to use the right pronouns. And I wish I had that book in my hands, but that book stays checked out. There's a group of students who just cycle through, and I'm so glad that I have it. I'm just so glad that I have that book in my library. So, it doesn't really matter to me personally. It doesn't matter where someone stands on these issues. Kids are allowed to feel and think the way that they feel and think. And as the responsible adult in the building, it is my privilege to provide them with books that help them through that thinking process, through that discovery process. And I hope everyone thinks about it that way. So I just want to say thank you for listening. As always, I am not an expert. I'm just telling you about, what I think. please feel free to reach out to me at cmore2@sdoc.org. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your book suggestions. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.